He's guilty of 3 so far.
Wait, what do you mean he's guilty of 3 so far?
Well, he's been convicted of 3. Sorry.
What do you mean? No, he hasn't.
I love this.
Eugene Carroll was guilty.
That was not a conviction. That was a civil case.
Okay, well, yes, so that's what I'm talking about. So that
okay, but there's a big difference.
Verbal on life.
How's your TDS? Your Trump derangement syndrome. In this video clip, we're going to take a look at Megyn Kelly destroying a multimillionaire who has TDS and doesn't want to acknowledge it and tries to bait Megyn Kelly into thinking that Trump is guilty. But let's take a look. Welcome to Verbal on Life. My name is Noel, battling MS. And remember, we got to be verbal on life. You can't just hold back. If you like this clip, before you go anywhere, make sure to give it a like. If you have anything to say, just comment down below. Let's take a look.
So, Megyn, if we look at the 5 cases, 6 months from now, or a year from now, let's assume all 5 of them go to trial. He's guilty of 3 so far.
Wait, what do you mean he's guilty of 3 so far?
Well, he's been convicted
Boom. Megyn Kelly's a lawyer putting him in check.
of 3. Sorry.
What do you mean? No, he hasn't.
I love this.
Eugene Carroll was guilty.
That was not a conviction. That was a civil case.
Okay, well, yes, so that's what I'm talking about. So that
okay, but there's a big difference.
It's
Boom. She's a lawyer letting him know.
still he was convicted. He was guilty of that. He got a settlement. How you look at the other cases, and if you think there's any validity to them, because there are 5 cases we're talking about. He's guilty of the first 3 so far out of 3. Some of them feel trumped up. But what about the last 2? The documents and the January 6th one. Do you think there's any validity to them?
No validity.
Zero.
The only thing that Trump was potentially in trouble on, and the thing I hit him on when we interviewed, was not turning over the documents once he had a subpoena.
Which would have been so easy to do.
Yes, but
Which was dumb, but he's Trump.
he should have turned them over.
He
But
always
didn't.
does self-destructive stuff.
But that one's gone away now too because of Jack Smith not being properly appointed down there. But in
So-
answer to your question on Judge Merchan, I think he almost is in a position where he might have to sentence him to jail, given how big they've tried to make it. You stole an election. But it would be at a suspended sentence. It would be immediately appealed, and I think Trump on appeal will win. There are so many holes in that case, so I don't think Trump will ever do 1 single day in jail.
So, Megyn, if we look at the 5 cases, 6 months from now, or a year from now, let's assume all 5 of them go to trial. He's guilty of 3 so far.
Wait, what do you mean he's guilty of 3 so far?
Well, he's been convicted of 3. Sorry.
What do you mean? No, he hasn't.
I love this.
Eugene Carroll was guilty.
That was not a conviction. That was a civil case.
Okay, well, yes, so that's what I'm talking about. So that
Okay, but there's a big difference.
It's still he was convicted. He was guilty of that. He got a settlement. In the Trump organization, they're guilty there.
That,
okay,
again, was
the CFO.
civil, liable.
Yes, of course. But these are the cases we're talking about. And in the third one...
she's a lawyer, right?
Yeah, of course. And in the third one... I'm just talking about the 5 cases. Yes, some are civil, obviously, and some are not. Some are criminal. But if we look at all 5
You said 3
cases,
convictions. Now you're walking it back.
I'm not walking it back. There's
Get it
3 in
straight.
which he was...
You should walk it back.
I'm
Okay, guys,
so
take it
glad
easy.
Megyn is here
Of the 5,
to
3 of them,
this.
he's either guilty or...
You got a bad result.
Yeah, got a bad result. There are 2 more. If he is found guilty of those 2 more, Megyn, and 5 of 5, he had a bad result. Way to frame it. Will you chalk all 5 up in your mind to 5 different jurisdictions, 5 different prosecutors, 5 different juries and or judges, all conspiring to get him?
100%.
Okay.
Yes.
That's all I wanted to hear your answer to. 5 of 5, 5 different jurisdictions.
Yeah.
You think it's all lawfare?
Eugene Carroll, they changed the law so that she could bring a civil lawsuit against him, and she did. New York went 87% for Joe Biden. That fix was in right from the start. The fraud trial that Letitia James brought against him has never been brought. There's no victims. The banks who were involved said, we didn't lose a penny. What are we doing here? We weren't damaged. Nobody was complaining except Tish James, who ran for office saying, I will get him. Then you have Alvin Bragg, who's a George Soros-funded prosecutor who doesn't like to prosecute any crime in New York City, where I lived for 17 years, except if your name is Donald Trump. Let's go down to Georgia, where Fani Willis and Nathan Wade couldn't keep their libidos in check long enough to actually bring this case against Donald Trump. It's a repeat of what was happening in January 6th up in the case with Judge Chutkan, who loathes Trump and has sentenced almost every J6 defendant to way more jail time than their counterparts would get. Those are falling apart because of presidential immunity, which was handed down by the Supreme Court, who said you cannot bring a criminal case against a sitting president for any official act. Those cases have been gutted. Also, a Supreme Court ruling saying the same on January 6 defendants in general. And that leaves us with Florida and the documents. And Trump has torn that apart because Jack Smith wasn't properly appointed and isn't the right counsel. But there are other issues. They haven't even gotten to presidential immunity there. And so that one's going nowhere as well. And by the way, they're going to appeal it up to the 11th Circuit. She just threw it out. The 11th Circuit is conservative. And thank God, so is the current Supreme Court. They're not going to tolerate that nonsense.
Let me ask you about...
You see, everybody knows that guy has TDS, but they don't say anything because that's his show. And those four men, they have a show. They're always on the same show. And every time he starts talking against Trump, they all just stay quiet because they know he's wrong. And they know he got TDS, but they just keep it to themselves and let him bury himself into all. Let's see what else they wrote here. Former Fox and NBC host Megyn Kelly has been praised online for schooling a podcast host over lawfare against Donald Trump. During the All In podcast summit earlier this month, Kelly confronted an entrepreneur on Trump's legal challenges. Yeah, they're really throwing the law at him. Kalakanis mistakenly claimed that Trump had been found guilty in 3 cases, which prompted Kelly, that went a little bit too fast, to set the record straight. So this was excellent because the record's got to be set straight. That's a famous podcaster, and a lot of people just think the wrong way. What? Kalakanis referenced the E. Jeron Carroll case and Trump Organization civil case as examples. Kalakanis, what a name. Kelly, a lawyer, immediately clarified that these were civil cases, not criminal ones, which is crucial distinction. She argued that the legal landscape had been manipulated specifically to target Trump. Hold up. So he just went on trying to clarify himself. The guy's a millionaire, so he wants to come over like he knows what the hell he's talking about whenever he talks. Check it out.
Yeah, and the Trump Organization, they're guilty there.
That,
okay,
again, was still civil, libel.
Yes, of course. But these are the cases we're talking about. And in the third one...
you know she's a lawyer, right?
Yeah, of course. And in the third one, I'm just talking about the 5 cases. Yes, some are civil, obviously, and some are not. Some are criminal. But if we look...
Some are criminal. Which ones?
You said 3 convictions. Now you're walking it back.
I'm not walking it back. There's 3 in which he was...
You should walk it back.
I'm so glad Megyn is here.
Of the 5, 3 of them, he's either guilty or...
You got a bad result.
Yeah, got a bad result. Will you chalk all 5 up in your mind to 5 different jurisdictions, 5 different prosecutors, 5 different juries and or judges, all conspiring to get him?
100%.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. They're all conspiring to get him. These are all cases, and this is using the law to destroy Trump. Look at him. He got nothing to say because he's not a lawyer.
That's all I wanted to hear your answer to.
The 53-year-old cited how New York changed the laws, allowing Carroll lawsuit to proceed against Trump. And by the way, changing the law, like the statute of limitations, also got Puff Daddy in trouble. That's something I want to talk about later on, because P. Diddy was doing fine, but when they removed the law, a bunch of women now started suing him and saying, hey, this man did this to me. And he started paying a bunch of money off. Now he's incarcerated, waiting trial, and he might be going to jail for the rest of his life. Look at that. The #1 Democrat, Puff Daddy, who everybody loved and everybody clapped it up with him. And what kind of party he used to have? Freak-offs. Everybody used to clap up his freak-offs and say how great he was. But because of Trump, they changed the law to just try to take down Trump. What else? The Megyn Kelly Show host also noted that unorthodox nature of the Trump Organization cases where the banks involved did not report any losses. Nobody lost anything. The fraud trial that Letitia James brought against him has never been brought. There's no victim. The banks who were involved said, we didn't lose any penny. What are we doing here? And nobody was complaining except Tish James, who ran the office saying, I will get Trump. Insane. She suggested many of these cases are driven by Democrat-aligned attorneys with the intent to block Trump's 2024 campaign. And then you got Alvin Bragg, who's a George Soros-funded prosecutor who doesn't like to prosecute any crimes in New York City, except your name is Donald Trump. Except if your name is Donald Trump. It's crazy. And then you got, let's go down to Georgia, where Letitia Fannie Willis and Nathan Wade couldn't keep their libidos in check long enough to actually bring this case against Donald Trump. They tried, those two tried, but they couldn't do it. The segment ended with Kelly finally correcting the misstatements and highlighting the importance of accurate legal cases. The clip has gone viral, schooling a clown on Trump lawfare. Schooling a clown in Trump lawfare. Yeah. Megyn Kelly definitely set him straight. Like, I like his show, his podcast, except listening to him talk. The guy has TDS and just talks how bad, or he calls Trump dumb, and he just doesn't like Trump. He really doesn't like him. And it makes no sense why he doesn't like him. So I never liked that guy, but at the end of the day, it's his show, his money, and he can say whatever he wants. I think something, as I'm reading this, I think something has lit a fire under Megyn Kelly recently. She's now unapologetically calling out every single lie she hears about Trump. The way she dismantled all the lawfare arguments against Trump at the All In Summit is exquisite. Yeah. Megyn Kelly definitely says something, because typically Democrats stay quiet about it and they don't point out the obvious, which regular people can see. But people just don't know how to say it legally. Megyn Kelly gives a masterclass on the lawfare against Donald Trump. Amazing. Shout out to Megyn Kelly. And she does great work. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like before you go anywhere. And see you in the next video clip. Peace.
Verbal or life.